So this morning I have I think, an interesting topic, and it's something I think we've all heard and we probably used ourselves. Don't put God in a box. Have you heard that phrase? I've used it. I remember one time at camp, there was a guy at camp that she really liked. I think maybe he was from her youth group, and she had a dream about them getting back together, I think. And so she told us all the next morning. She was so excited and she said, God is showing me that we're going to get back together and everything's going to work out and I'm so excited. And our counselor said something to the effect of, God doesn't work that way anymore, trying to say, visions and prophecies have ceased, cessationism, all that stuff. And I piped up, my little 14-year-old self, and said, don't put God in a box. And so the girl's like, yeah, don't put God in a box. He can do anything he wants, blah, blah, blah. Well, it didn't work out for them. They did not get back together. She was very, very upset and, was just crying and saying, I thought God had told me that we were going to get back together. And it's one of those memories I look back on now and I think, I said something wrong and I shouldn't have. But all that to say, we use this phrase, and I think I know what we mean by it. We mean, don't limit God. He can work in whatever ways he wants. But let's be careful with it too. Is there a box that God should be put in? What kind of boxes are we usually putting him in? Can God do absolutely anything? What does the Bible say? The Bible calls him almighty, all-powerful, but does the Bible actually have the words God can do anything? It doesn't. Because you know what? There are things God cannot do. There are things he will not do. He cannot sin. And he cannot tolerate sin and evil in his heaven. Cannot happen. The only reason sinners can go to heaven is because it's been paid for by the blood of Christ. And that had to happen, or it would not have been just, and God must be just. There are other things. Those are the ones that immediately popped in my mind. There are other things I'm sure that we could say, yes, God cannot do this, and he will not do this. But there are other things God does do that we like to conveniently forget or even deny. We don't like that that's part of his character, or that those are actions that he has taken or is willing to take. I remember in Sunday school, in high school, our youth group leader saying something about God hating. And I was like, God doesn't hate, God is love. Well, we were flipped right open to a passage in Psalms where God was saying, the wicked I hate. The Old Testament, God said, Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. God's hate is a pure hate. It is a holy hate and righteous. He doesn't have evil behind it, or vindictiveness, or anything wicked, as our hate would, which is why I would say God can hate. I think we need to be really careful with our hatred. There are things we should hate. We should hate evil, but our sin wants to come up so quickly and grab hold of that and do wrong with it. But God can hate without sin, and he does hate. And God has commanded that people be killed, entire people groups be killed. We would call that genocide now. And people get upset about that when they read the Bible. They think, how could a good and just and loving God do this? Well, he had good and just and loving reasons for it. He does sentence people to death. God is pro the death penalty for a lot of things. He sentences souls to eternal torment. He commanded the entire earth and all its inhabitants to be destroyed by a flood, and he's going to do it again by fire. What kind of box are we putting him in our minds? It's usually the nice God box. Guys, God isn't nice. He isn't. He is kind, he is good, and so loving, and so gentle and comforting. But he's not nice. What kind of box should he be in? What kind of box has he put himself in? let's not say things about God that this doesn't say. And let's not be mad about the things it does say about him, because he's revealed himself to us through his word. Through Christ, we can see God as a person in the person of Christ. And sometimes Christ did and said things we wouldn't be comfortable with. But he has set limits for himself. His character sets limits for himself, in the sense of he cannot sin, he cannot do anything outside of his own will. So let's not limit God in our hearts, saying God can't save this person, or, things of that nature. But neither should we impose our ideas of what we think he should be like onto him. But we must turn to his word and see what he has said about himself. He has his own rules and he follows them. When he gives a promise, he keeps it. He is a God of order. We can trust him because he keeps these things. He's not a chaotic God who can just completely change. He doesn't change. So let's pray that God will teach us who he is, not who we think he is, but who he knows himself to be. So guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. It's always such a joy to be able to share these things with you. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below or message me privately if you'd like to do that. And also, I need to say that credit for part of the idea for this video comes from Adam Ford of AdamFord.com comics. Check them out, they are fun. And as always, I love to hear from you. So I will see you next time. Bye!